We should be going. Yes, I believe. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Looks like we got sound going through the Apollo. It looks like we got OBS. It's probably a good 20, 30, 40-second delay. Hi, Sean. Everybody can hear me now. Yeah! Way to go. Fabulous. So let me give you the rundown. The reason things are screwy is because stop flashing hand signals, man. Stop. Oh, okay. So A got all excited, and every time I go to talk, she's doing a hand sign. I'm like, do you want something from me? What is going on? Okay, here's the deal. We're in Memphis, Tennessee, the other Memphis. And Rob Otto and I and A are here on a writing retreat. We've been working on Slay Season 4, and we've pretty much got that our outline buttoned up. Martin Evans says it sounds low. Great, let me try this. Just generally bring it up. Martin, does that help at all? Sounds low. We are working on that right now. Let me go back to console. See if I can bring up our overall output. There's no way to do that. All right, so we're just going to go ahead. How about now, everybody? That should be much, much louder for y'all. Much louder. There we go. So that should be pretty much booming right now. And we're doing the best we can with that. Let me go back to get better. Great.
You want to test my mic now that you've changed the settings?
No, we'll test it right before we go.
Got it.
I'm afraid to touch anything.
Yeah, I get it.
Brian Spike DeBonis is all caught up. Glad to hear it, buddy. Let's go ahead and if I change scenes, make sure you can hear sound when we are in chat. Can you guys hear me in chat? I believe you can. Wonderful. Let me give you the rundown before we jump into story time. We're on the road. We're missing a few of the bells and whistles that have like the timer before we get into story time, etc. Rob and I have been working nonstop on Slay Season 4, which will begin later this year because there's anywhere from 6 to 10 episodes of Slay Season 3 left, one of which we're going to do for you tonight. As soon as this is done, I'm going to switch to the other side of the table. A is going to sit down and drive, and Rob and I will be having a conversation about storytelling, things that have influenced our storytelling style. We did not have a junkie meetup in Nashville. If you're in Nashville area and you're upset about that, bummer. We'll come back. We haven't had a junkie meetup in forever because...
We're also in Memphis.
What's that?
We're also in Memphis,
We're
not Nashville.
Oh, we're in Memphis. Sorry, we're in... Cheers to you bitches. We're in Memphis. So to finish it up, we're traveling. We brought our travel rig. We're giving it a good kick in the tires so we can live stream from Comic-Con and also from DragonCon. It works pretty good. We've got it sort of dialed in now. But we haven't had junkie meetups in a long time. We haven't toured in a long time because I'm so far behind. I was so far behind on so many things. But ladies and gentlemen, earlier today, the Crypt Book 2's text was sent into Athon. That's the copy edit. So I sent in the final. They mark it all up, go through grammar and whatnot. And trust me, marking up my grammar takes a minute. It took them a long time. I got through all those, approve or decline them, and fix a couple of things. We then send that back to them. So now they have it. We are working on the cover right now. It's going to be very cool. So that's all good. So of course, if you're on Facebook, click like, click that bell, make sure you are subscribed. We're going to get into the story. Hey, Matt Moretti, how you doing? D79 in the house. Cobalt, Steve the Iceberg, Ricky Berg. Steve says the junkie meetup is at DragonCon. That is correct, sir. DragonCon, D79 is be at DragonCon. Dylan. Oh, it's good to see you back, Dylan. Dr. Campbell in the house. Sean in the house. Oh my gosh. Great crew. Let's see how many people we got kicking around. Got a bunch. All right. So now we're going to go back to main. I'm going to read this to you. I will listen to it after the fact, but probably going to have to re-record this episode at some future point for the podcast. But it doesn't matter right now. Tonight's episode is Slay 103, Dragon's Mom. After the episode, as I said, Deep Cuts, my co-author Rob Otto joins me for merriment. A real girl herself will be on the chat and sometimes mic'd up. It depends. That's it. We're not doing any of the other bullshit. Oh, Christopher Otto's in the house. Very nice. Chris, what we do here is we read for about a half an hour to 40 minutes, and then your baby-faced brother will be on the screen, hopefully not tooting, because I'm tooting you guys. Unfortunately for both A and Rob, it's not great. It's not great. Let's read before my voice gives out. After the read, I'll do the housekeeping. Then there'll be a bit of a clusterfuck while we switch direct cameras and all that other shit. Okay, here we go. Let's go to Logic. We are recording in Wang Severe waveform. I do have a pretty waveform. And now we're going to get into the read. You guys can hear me okay? Let's rock and roll. I don't have the Schwarmy. I forgot to bring the Schwarmy with me. So I'm going to do this, and you guys all have to make your own Schwarmy, and we'll punch them in after the fact. Let's make sure OBS is on the right scene. OBS is on the right scene. Here we go. Previously on Slay. Linc, Billy, and the huge suit of black armor controlled by Magda and holding the unconscious Mercutio are in transit, heading to Alnwick, England, where they will meet Dante Oganov, Faceless, and Cray-Cray Bray. Let the heist begin. Meanwhile, Gary Sater is faced with two critical tasks: acquiring Mercutio's ransom money and tracking down Linc and Franks so Lincoln can report to Callista. Things are getting dicey for the Old Stone Church gang. Here we go with Slay, episode 103. Everything appears to be in order, Mr. Sater. I shall return shortly with your funds. Might I tempt you with a cucumber water while you wait, or perhaps something with a bit more fortitude? Madame Yelena Lamanche's smile accentuated her sharp cheekbones and crinkled her lavender eyes. Goriginald felt grateful the Formian chose to maintain her glamoured self, an infinitely more agreeable visage than the kelp-hued horror beneath. A twisted face, webbed fingers, and misshapen, mantis-jointed limbs did not exactly scream good customer service. How kind of you, Yelena. I would adore some bubbles, if any are available. But of course, Mr. Sater. With a snap of her fingers, a glass of champagne materialized, effervescent, elegant, and enticing. If I recall correctly, you have a fondness for Kruglo Dambonnet. How lovely! May I ask the year? 1996, she said. Only the best for you, sir. How he loved that vintage. He took a small sip. Hints of toasted hazelnut, a teasing of citrus, and that unmistakable taste of truffles. Exceptional. You have my undying gratitude, madame. She half bowed, half nodded, in the way that those who know how to serve do. Goriginald should know. He made that same gesture when he catered to Callista. Yelena walked away, weaving through the desks, heading for the vault. The staff at the Argentari Bank in Cordes knew how to treat customers right. Argentari Bank was an exquisite facility, positively drenched in old money and older secrets. It smelled of lost eras, of leather ledgers, and ancient coin. Candles burned in scones and chandeliers, their light consumed by dark wood and chairs upholstered in midnight burgundy velvet. If he recalled correctly, the first time he had been here had been 1682. The place hadn't changed an iota since. Goriginal despised leaving Callista's club, but 5,000 gold was not exactly pocket change. While they had just over 3,000 in the club's safe, a healthy chunk of that was needed for ongoing expenses and paying vendors. Mistress had another 1,000 stashed at her condo in the theater center up in Lumencia, which he would fetch when he headed back to the surface. Mistress rarely went there. She rarely left the club at all, and certainly wasn't going to leave it now, not when Dante Oganov was in Lumencia and a kidnapper, who may or may not be in league with Oganov, was on the loose. In addition to Robert, the bouncers, and the doormen, and the now more heavily armed and armored club kids, the club itself magnified her power. Now that a threat was known and she was prepared for it, that was the place she could best defend herself. She was far more powerful at Alnwick. Of that, there was no doubt. But even being in the vicinity of that place carried the risk of the Bastion finding out what she kept there. If that happened, there was nowhere on the surface or in the patchwork that Callista could call safe. Because when the Bastion wanted you dead or imprisoned, that was that. Maybe you get a trial, but most times you just disappeared. Gods forbid they tossed you in the jail, because odds were you would never be heard from again. By day's end, Reginald would have the 5,000 gold in ransom money. Would that be enough to get Mercutio back? Time would tell. He had had no luck reaching Lincoln. 2 calls to voicemail. 1 sphere call that went unanswered. Reginald didn't know if Lincoln still had that particular cell phone. He changed them frequently. And did he still possess the sphere? No way of knowing. The man was notoriously hard to reach. Perhaps he was out searching for Hasharame. Knowing Lincoln, he probably already was, even though his leg couldn't possibly be healed yet. A more ominous possibility loomed large. Could the kidnappers have taken Lincoln at some point after he left the club? Or could he have tracked them down and, to no one's surprise, rushed in without calling Callista for assistance? For all the man's bravery and combat prowess, he had the strategic skills of a garden slug. Actually, that wasn't fair to garden slugs. Madame Yelena returned, carrying a bulging silk bag in each hand, the contents of which pulled the fabric tight. She set the bags on her desk. 2,000 gold, she said. Is there anything else I can assist you with today, Mr. Satyr? Reginald found himself wishing she'd taken a little longer, as champagne this fine deserved to be savored, not slammed. No, thank you, Madame Helena. He drank it down, enjoyed the final sip, then set the empty flute on her desk. He lifted up the bags, surprised, as always, by the sobering heft of gold coin. That will be all. If the fates favor me, I will see you again soon. 6 heavily armed club kids waited for him outside. They were his final safeguard. His first line of defense came courtesy of a mercenary service. 10 ogres in burnished steel plate, each cradling an AK-47 like a lover, who stood ready to intercept any misfortune. There was a kidnapper afoot, after all. One could never be too careful. As the ogres cast hateful glances to anyone who looked Reginald's way, the club kids helped him into the waiting carriage. They took their positions on the outside, ready to lay down their lives to protect one of Mistress's favorite servants. Transit platform, if you please, Reginald said to the driver. And do be liberal with the whip. I find myself rather pressed for time. Swarmy sound. Transit defied description. It was like Billy, Linc, and Armor Magda, which contained the still unconscious Mercutio, stood atop an old second-hand kitchen table made of solidified light. The surface simultaneously both soft and solid. Like oobleck, maybe, but also not like that at all. And all around them, the ultra-white and deep space black static of transit. They moved at speeds Billy couldn't probably comprehend. Or maybe they didn't move at all. Maybe they were shifting from one plane of existence to another. Or some kind of alternate dimension. Who the hell knew? You can't science this shit. Billy wasn't sure how someone could look, I just got yelled at miserable, and also, I'm gonna stab several bitches in the taint angry at the same time, but Lincoln, somehow, pulled it off. Can't wait to get rid of this stupid crutch, Linc said. It's so dumb. Every few seconds, he tried not putting his weight on the crutch. When he did, his balance wavered. That leg was nowhere close to 100%. Looking at you now, you should use the crutch until you have to put it down to fight, Armor Magda said in her growling iron drawl. The longer you baby that leg, the better. Linc threw Mags the same taint-stabbing glare. Linc threw the same taint-stabbing glare Armor Magda's way. It wasn't the first time on this transit he had done so. Hey, Mags, he said, how about you drink a warm glass of shut the fuck up? Damn, he was worked up. Billy tried to empathize. He didn't know what it was like to have one. Billy tried to empathize. He didn't know what it was like to have only one shot at rescuing your only child from a purgatory full of slavering monsters, work with a criminal who had tried to kill you to do it, and be sporting a cracked femur as well. Had to be hard. Still, this tension and anger wasn't helping the pre-game effort. Linc needed to focus on the task at hand, which meant Billy needed to get his mind off the one-and-done high stakes of this run. Hey, Linc, let me ask you something, Billy said. When we were in the van down by the river, you said Ice Pick's turtle thing killed Dragon's mom. That's why Dragon went nuts, because you recognized the turtle thing's scent. Lincoln blinked, like he was coming out of a dream. Yeah. He tore his gaze away from Armor Magda. Yeah, that's right. So tell me what happened, Billy said. How did it go down? Both simmering and dreading trepidation. No. Both simmering anger and dreaded trepidation drained away. Linc stared at Billy for a moment, deciding if he should tell the story. Billy found himself growing angry, just like that. If Linc wouldn't tell the tale right off, that meant it had been bad for Dragon. And even though Billy had nothing to do with it, even though it had happened before he met the pup, the thought of anyone hurting Dragon in any way stirred the fire within. I need to know, Billy said. We'll probably run into Ice Pick again, right? I need to know. Lincoln's mouth twitched. He sniffed. He tried to stand taller, take the weight off the crutch. He wavered and immediately gave up. Sagging on the crutch, he nodded. Fine, he said. I'll tell you. Swarmy sound. The haze of Cimmerel let him see his way through the lightless passage. He could smell his quarry now. She had marked her territory. Her piss smelled of dead men and hatred. Lincoln wasn't up on exchange rates, but he figured 250,000 yen was a good bet. Definitely enough for a cross-world transit to Xi'an, China, and a crawl through the catacombs beneath the Xi'an city wall. Because here there be dragons. Literally. The wall was some 6.5 centuries old. At least the modernized part was. The original structure, whose bowels Lincoln walked through now, dated back some 22 centuries. Older than the Roman Empire. Already in place 200 years before a certain young lad was allegedly born in Bethlehem. The original wall served many purposes. It defended the seat of the nascent Han Empire against Yongu raiders. It protected against the ravenous Jurogumo invaders from Japan. And it provided a critical bulwark from which to fight Zuichi. It's hard to pronounce. Zuichi. From which to fight the Zuichi, the predatory, hornless dragons that stalked the Qingling and Liang mountains. Most of the beasts were wiped out, lost to the scattered pages of history, but by no means all of them. Many went higher in the mountains, took to the caves, spread to remote areas where they did not have to battle mankind. But not all of them, nowhere near all. Some lurked in ruins. Some hid in forests that bordered cities and towns. And some, the most brazen of all, went deep beneath those cities themselves. That included a dragon named Langmei, the wolf demoness. 30 feet long, so the stories went. She could turn into a Eurasian wolf and silently stalk her prey through the woods, the mountains, or city streets, changing to her dragon form after she closed in for the kill. Cantrell had given Lincoln the heads up on this bounty. One too many citizens had gone missing. City influencers pooled their resources and put a price on Yinshan. They wanted her gone. And Lincoln wanted money. Seemed like a match made in heaven. On top of that, his dad often bragged about the dragon he had killed. With his bare hands, of course, in the mountains, during the dead of winter, in 20 feet of snow, uphill both ways. Yinshen had seen enough times the people who'd placed the contract offered Yinshen had been seen enough times that the people who'd placed the contract offered a probable location. It wasn't hard to find, per se. It was more a matter of knowing that if you went looking, she would find you, and then the fun would begin. Most people don't like that kind of fun, which was why Lincoln did what he did. $250,000. He needed it. He was one payment behind on the church, 2 on Sunset House. 1 more, and Dad would be kicked out. Magda's drinking had tipped up a notch as of late. The booze bill was worse than ever. To make matters worse, I just used as of late twice. Hold on, sorry about that. Got it. To make matters worse, the monsters were growing scarce. Slim pickings meant taking whatever contract he could fulfill, including some jobs that did not make him feel good about himself. But this was different. This was clean. This would help people. A furious roar echoed through the passage, low and resonant, laced with challenge. Another animal answered almost immediately, this one shorter, clipped, a rumbling, hollow growl from something big. He drew his weapons. Bastard maker in one hand, his old Smith & Wesson Model 29. In the other, his old Smith & Wesson Model 29, the one Magda made fun of, in the other. Tight confines, armored dragon scales. Problems ideal for a portable close quarters, 8 5/8-inch barrel loaded with filament-jacketed .44 Russian. So badass, even Dirty Harry himself would have been impressed. He ran toward the sounds, roars and growls, the punishing impacts of 2 monsters battling to the death. He was getting close. But was he too late? His run became a sprint. The stench of dragon piss grew stronger, a warning to men smarter than he to stay away. But he needed that money. He needed it bad. Lincoln saw a light ahead, the shadow dance brought on by torches, coming from an opening some 100 yards distant. He redoubled his efforts, put all he had into the sprint, already getting winded and wishing he worked out a little bit more and drank a little bit less. A crash of masonry, 70 yards. New sounds, reptilian squeals, high-pitched and full of utter terror. 50 yards. He tried to catalog the new sounds, count them among the tumult of snapping wood and tumbling rocks. Were they baby dragons? 4 of them, maybe. 30 yards. Even as beastly cries of pain laced the irregular music of battling beasts, one of those high-pitched squeals died out. 20 yards. Another high-pitched shriek stopped sharp with the finality of death. 10 yards from the opening, a slinky black shadow scrambled into the passage and rushed toward him. Lincoln skidded to a halt and raised his pistol. The shadow stopped cold. A baby dragon, 5 feet long, if that. Head too big for the body, huge black eyes. Lincoln aimed. He hesitated. He didn't know why. In that still moment, the beast shimmered, shifted, and changed. In its place, a big-eyed, tiny ball of black fluff. Blazing hells. It looked like Scraps, the puppy he'd had as a little kid. Just like Scraps, a black dachshund that couldn't have weighed more than 5 pounds soaking wet. He lowered his pistol. When he did, the dachshund scrambled toward him. In the time it took Lincoln to wonder if he should shoot it anyway, it leapt into his arms. He clumsily cradled it, weapons in both hands. The poor thing trembled and whined. A monstrous roar shifted to a wail of agony, of confusion and fear. Lincoln awkwardly juggled his 2 weapons and the shivering dragonling, got his hatchet back into his cloak. Pup under one arm and pistol in his other hand, he rushed forward. He entered a chamber that might have once been an armory, now little more than a still-standing ruin. In the light of a dozen torches, a black Chinese dragon, long and narrow, thick as a sewer pipe, bleeding from a dozen deep, ragged tear wounds wound around a truck-sized Dimortuga, torchlight sparkling off its heavy diamond shell. And on the other side of the chamber, a man in a black trench coat standing in a nest made of old logs, chewed up bones, and broken human skulls. In one hand, the man held a wakizashi sword, some 2 feet long and shimmering with the suffused glow of folded steel. In the other hand, he clutched the neck of a squirming baby dragon. The poor little thing scratched and clawed at the man's arms, but with no impact. The man saw Lincoln, then lopped off the baby dragon's head as casually as you please. He tossed the corpse on the nest's edge where it lay, motionless, next to 2 others. A desperate bellow and flashing burst of flame drew Lincoln's attention back to the pitched battle. The dragon, the mother of the slain little ones, no doubt, was on her back, pinned in place by 2 manhole-sized cover-sized feet. She breathed fire at her attacker, but the whipping flames kissed harmlessly off invulnerable shell. When she drew in a tortured breath for another blast, the Dimortuga's head shot from the shell's safety. A wicked, hooked, yard-wide beak opened wide, the pink tongue inside dancing with anticipation, then snapped close with a clack so fierce it kicked up clouds of dust. The dragon pushed, clawed, but its strength had already failed. The giant turtle ripped off a chunk of bloody meat, swallowed it down with a gulp, then plunged its beak in for a second ravenous helping. One fast, blood-spurting bite at a time, it ate the still-scratching mother dragon alive. Her struggles slowed. After the 5th shovel-clamp bite, they stopped. The tiny creature in Lincoln's arms let out a long, mournful howl. "The man in gray, I presume." Lincoln had never seen this man in person, but he had heard of him. "That's me," he said. "You Icepick?" Icepick smiled, an expression more of warning than delight. "That I am." He twirled a shuriken. I gather you came for the wolf demoness's bounty. Icepick was supposedly fast with those spikes. Old West quick draw fast. As fast as Lincoln? Maybe. If he didn't have a trembling pup in one hand. Why was he holding this thing? Wow, Lincoln said. You figured that one out all on your own, did you? Icepick's smile widened. Some genuine glee in there now. His eyes didn't share the joy, though. His eyes remained cold, focused, looking for the best way to open Lincoln up at a distance. I was always a smart kid, Icepick said. Sat in the front row of the class and everything. So, Rixator, you came for the bounty, just like I did. Are you leaving? Or are we going to have to settle this the old-fashioned way? Icepick's reputation preceded him. He was a bounty hunter on the rise. Smart, efficient, deadly. With Rixator armor and cloak protecting him, Lincoln had no doubt he could take the man. Who was better? A voice in Lincoln's head, one that sounded quite a lot like his father's voice, said, "Let's find out." But regardless of who was better, that wasn't the right thing to do. There was a code among bounty hunters. Not all followed it, but Lincoln did. X, Rixator, he said. You were here first. Protocol says the prize is yours. There. He had done the right thing. And yet, Lincoln found himself wishing Icepick would try his luck. Icepick did not. I appreciate the consideration, the man said. Now, if you'll hand over that little shit you're carrying, I'll end this. Like an idiot, Lincoln looked at the dog cradled in his arm, taking his eyes off the quick-draw killer. The trembling dog looked up at him, wet eyes wide with fear, wet eyes beseeching him to help. Literal puppy dog eyes, for fuck's sake. At this distance, with Lincoln distracted, Icepick probably could have put a spike through his eye. He did not draw. Lincoln sighed, already knowing what he had to do. The dragonling stays with me, he said. Non-negotiable. So you choose, Icepick. I walk out of here and leave you to your spoils, or we settle this right now. The old-fashioned way. Icepick considered it. He stared, thinking, perhaps weighing his options. Then he shook his head. You followed protocol, so I will too, he said. If our paths should cross again, maybe then we'll dance. For now, though, X, Rixator, I have no issue with you. For the second time, Lincoln felt disappointed. He stepped backward into the passage. He had taken his eyes off this man once, and that was once too many. Only after the darkness engulfed him did he turn and head back the way he had come. The fur ball whined, a sound sadder than most, and Lincoln Franks had heard many sad sounds. Sorry about your mom, he said to the pup, and your brothers or sisters or whatever. Lincoln set the little dog down. She leaned against his legs, shuddering in fear and heartbreak. He put his pistol away, then picked her up again. You know what? You're coming home with me, little dragon. I got a friend who also knows what it's like to lose everything. Scotch-a-doo. When Magda first met Billy, he was scrawnier than a malnourished scarecrow, no bigger than a minute, and wrapped in a shroud of constant fear. His eyes, the wide eyes of prey, darted to every corner, always looking for the next kick coming his way. He'd reminded Magda of a damaged moth, trembling and shuddering, somehow knowing the inevitable end was closing in. Looking at him now, he was like another person entirely. Truth be told, he was another person entirely. "So that was it then," he said, his voice as sharp and cold as the edge of a guillotine. "That's how you got Dragon." He leaned forward without knowing he did so, like a boxer about to step forward at the ring of the bell. Bunched muscles flexed beneath his white scale armor. Fingerless gloves hid clenched fists. The ligaments on his neck stood out, power lines coursing with a danger signal plain to anyone who knew of such tells. "Yeah," Lincoln said. "That's how we got Dragon." Billy's left eye ticked once, twice. "Ice Pick did that," he said. "And his familiar. Killed Dragon's mom. Dragon's brothers and sisters. Why didn't you tell me, Linc?" Magda had faced many monsters in her day. Life-takers, man-eaters, soul-stealers. She knew pending violence when she saw it, knew what bottled-up fury looked like, what it felt like. Despite the beasties and baddies she'd gone up against, the creatures she'd defeated, at that moment, Billy Middleton made her lizard brain want to take a step away even though there was nowhere to step to. "Because it didn't matter, kid," Linc said. "It still doesn't matter." Magda wasn't the only one to notice Billy's frozen rage, his murderous intent barely constrained by wafer-thin self-control. Lincoln Franks was not the kind of person who took a step away. He, too, seemed to puff up like a living warning. "Don't step to me, because you won't like how it ends." "It matters to me, Linc." Billy's left eye ticked again. "You should have told me." He looked at Magda. "So should have you." The air around Billy began to waver, a heat haze coursing up and off of him. Deep red fire flickered at the corners of his eyes. Magda's lizard brain grew more restless. "Kid, knock it the fuck off," Linc said. "The past is the past, and you can't change it. Get your shit under control right fucking now, before Vestinian picks up your energy." Billy's soulful, beautiful eyes blinked rapidly, splashing out many tongues of fire. He sniffed, raised his eyebrows, and blinked some more. The haze around him slowed, then vanished. "I'm under control." Then, quieter, "But you should have told me." The blacker than black and whiter than white static about them began to stutter, to spark with the eldritch energies older than the universe itself. They were almost there. She could sense Mercutio inside her armor. He remained unconscious, but seemed okay, at least as far as she could tell. He hadn't vomited from transit, or pissed or shit himself. She counted those things as a collective win. "I didn't tell you because I knew how you'd react," Lincoln said, not a shred of sympathy or understanding in his words. "Don't question me. Now, put that attitude away. We've got work to do." Billy didn't look down like he usually did when Linc spoke to him like that. He didn't shrink in on himself. He didn't apologize. He just stared. Stared with inevitability. Magda knew that stare, knew it well because she had seen it in Linc's eyes more times than she could count. Billy had changed so much in the past year. Lil B was nothing but a memory now, a thin shadow within thick steel. Sooner or later, someone was going to push this armored linebacker over the edge. And Magda felt sorry in advance for that poor fucker, whoever they may be. The mystical light around them sputtered and faded. Magda found herself in the decrepit remnants of an old castle tower, one no bigger than the bell tower back at the old stone church. Uneven, packed dirt floor, lumpy with broken stone. What looked like a well-built wooden What looked like a well-built wooden ceiling was above, so close her shoulder spikes and helm crest lightly scraped against it. No, not a ceiling. It was the underside of a wooden floor. Someone had stacked modern life atop ancient rot. Svartstuja, Mitruzia. Welcome to Alnwick. The big-eared Dante Oganov stood there in his red Adidas tracksuit, a Tokarov TT-30 pistol holstered at his right hip, a thin dagger sheathed at his left. The dagger's handle looked to be wrapped in ragged paper scrolls. His red Adidas high tops were brand new. At his left stood Faceless in their ratty, armless burlap sack. Their eyeless, noseless, mouthless expression looked as inscrutable as ever. Clay to be molded to suit whatever need may arise. At Dante's right, twitchy Cray-Cray Bray, her purple hair in rubber band-bound clumps. Heavy combat boots, green cargo pants, and a blue Camp Crystal Lake t-shirt. If she carried any weapons, they were in the overstuffed hemp bag slung across her chest. Unlike Faceless, her expression was all too readable. Anxiety, trepidation, and a subdued layer of fear. "You are late," Dante said. "It is time. Now, before we begin, let us go over plan." Stop, save. All right. Hopefully that was readable by or listened to by all you peoples. That's not me chatting in the chat room. That's why the little A is there. So now we're going to get ready to move on to the next thing. Let's do the housekeeping first, though, because I can't do it. All right, here we go. As I said, I finalized Crypt Book 2. If you missed it in the beginning, Crypt Book 2 is done on my part. It is off to the publisher. We don't know when that is going to be out. Hopefully by the end of the year. Slay episode 102. New phone. Who dis? Hit the feed on Sunday, July 6th. Friday, June 27th. That's not right, is it? Yeah, Friday, nope. Friday, June 27th, Deep Cuts episode 58, Audible's antitrust case went live in the feed. Sunday, July 13th, tonight's episode, Slay episode 103, Dragon's Mom, goes live in the feed. Saturday, August 2nd. Oh, yeah, Saturday, August 2nd is the junkie meetup, the Zoom meeting, and I don't have the graphic for that, so you guys will have to figure that out. And is there a deep cuts topic you would like to hear? Just email info@emptyset. Clearly, there's a few more things I got to add to this instance of OBS that we use to stream for you guys. It's not in the travel rig yet. We will get it figured out. Sound was 5x5. Thank you, Martin. And as always, great episode. Dr. Campbell, very nice. How do I get to here? And then go, I do go OBS. Boom. Here we go. He carries enormous weight on his shoulders. Tyler Miller says, yay. Steve Rickerberg, I love Scott. Thought to snap for a section. He won't be in it. I noticed I did that too. I'm not even editing this. I'm like, the Jets will have their night tonight. Puerto Rican Punkos, fair fight. But if they want to rumble, we'll rumble them right tonight. It's the first album I ever had, you guys. West Side Story soundtrack. Lord of the Rings girl, hello. All right, guys, let's finish this up. We're about to roll into the deep cuts, and this is going to take us just a minute to get set up. So please hang loose. We will be right back. D79, if Crypt 2 is ready by DragonCon, will you be signing? Yes. If it is ready by DragonCon, and if they're able to get hardcover print books available, or they're able to get them, I will be hanging out at the Athon booth and signing a bunch. Also, anybody going to Comic-Con, we are probably going to have the Warpath cover reveal at my special session at Comic-Con. So if you are going to Comic-Con, make sure, we don't know what day it is yet, what time it is, but you're going to want to come to that. You'll be the first people in the world to see the cover for Warpath, which will be out sometime 2026. I can't say which month yet because I'm not allowed to. It's a mystery. Oh, your publishing mechanics frighten and confuse me. Anyways, I don't know how this shit that works. All right. Now we're going to switch to let's go ahead. Base. Let's get rid of. There's a Rob camera. There's a Scott. So A is going to be back here in a second, you guys, and we are going to do a wonderful deep cuts for you. And well, hopefully it'll be wonderful. I don't fucking know. You're not even looking at me. I'm looking at the camera.
It's going to be wonderful. Shut up.
Okay, sweetness. Here you go.
Yep.
We'll get you queued up. I got to get this episode queued up for you. One sec.
Okay. Don't sit down.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, don't sit down.
I thought it was sitting on a glass. Going to get it right on my butt.
No, way more expensive. Your phone and my computer.
Here, we'll let you guys look at me while I figure this out. What was I doing? Oh, yeah, logic. It's been a long day, you guys. Rob and I worked a whole bunch, and it took me a very long time to get this shit all set up.